For this video, I will be talking about Chrono Trigger, an RPG by Square, my second favorite RPG for Super Nintendo, and my second favorite RPG in general. Chrono Trigger's development team included a dream team consisting of 5 people: Kazuhiko Aoki, Yuji Horii, Hironobu Sakaguchi, Akira Toriyama, and Nobuo Uematsu. Kazuhiko Aoki, who helped design Final Fantasy IV's battle system, was the producer of Chrono Trigger. Yuji Horii, creator of the Dragon Quest series, was one of the writers of Chrono Trigger. Hironobu Sakaguchi, creator of the Final Fantasy series, was the designer of Chrono Trigger. Akira Toriyama, author and illustrator of one of my favorite manga series, Dragon Ball, was the character designer of Chrono Trigger. Nobuo Uematsu, the initial composer of the Final Fantasy series, composed some songs for Chrono Trigger to finish off the soundtrack after the game's primary composer, Yasunori Mitsuda, had to leave development for health reasons. The premise of Chrono Trigger is that the game starts off in the year 1000 AD, and a place called Lean Square is throwing a celebration called the Millennium Fair. The main protagonist, a boy named Chrono, lives near Lean Square and heads to the fair to meet with his childhood friend Luca, an intelligent girl skilled with machines. At the fair, Chrono literally runs into a girl who calls herself Marl, and Chrono allows her to walk with him through the fair. Chrono and Marl then go to see Luca and her father Tabin demonstrate her teleportation device. Marl volunteers to get teleported by the device. However, her pendant reacts to the device and causes a portal to appear. Marl gets sucked into the portal, and Chrono volunteers to go into the portal after her. Luca enters the portal not long afterward. Chrono and Luca find themselves in the year 600 AD, the Middle Ages, and they eventually rescue Marl, after which they head back to the present. Sometime after their return to the present, the trio finds another portal, or time gate, and ends up in the future year of 2300 AD. In 2300 AD, the trio finds records of a giant monster called Lavos destroying the world in 1999 AD. Chrono and friends thus dedicate themselves to stop Lavos' destruction and travel through time to gain allies, equipment, and information to help them achieve that goal. Along the way, Chrono allies with Frog, an anthropomorphic frog from the Middle Ages, Robo, a robot from the future, and Ayla, a prehistoric cave woman. I will now talk about the story. The story is complex, emotional, and engaging, has complex and likable characters, and uses time travel well. The time travel is fun by itself, and it gives variety and depth to the story due to the time periods being greatly varied in terms of environment and characters exclusive to the time periods. I also love how the time periods are connected to each other in the overall story, and how each time period has at least one subplot that fits into the overall story and reinforces the overall story. None of the time periods is a mere plot device or just there. The subplots also add the right amount of emotion to the overall story and are helpful to the pacing of the overall story. The characters fit well in the story and add to the story thanks to their complexity, their expressiveness, and likability. The playable characters are greatly varied in terms of design and personality, and each character is likable in their own ways. Other likable characters include Tabin, Melchior, and the old man who lives in the end of time. While the main villain Lavos lacks characterization, it still makes for a great villain due to its design, its globally destructive power, and its scream. I love the sprites in the game. I love them by themselves because I love Akira Toriyama's art style and because they are well drawn, colorful, and well animated. They are made better by the fact that they fit in the game because they go well with the game's humor, action, characterizations, and settings. In addition, the character designs are a great fit for the epic animation feel that the story gives off. The sprites also go well with the beautiful and highly detailed environments, which also add to the epic animation feel. I will now talk about the gameplay. The combat is smooth, deep, and accessible. The active time battle system from the Final Fantasy series is employed in Chrono Trigger, and it is employed well. Most of the enemies move around the battlefield, and positions of enemies can affect how they attack. In addition, their positions either relative to each other or relative to the party can affect how many enemies a party character can hit in a single attack. As a result, the position mechanic gives depth and strategy to the combat. A nitpick I have is that waiting until enemies are in the right positions can be time-consuming. The playable characters are greatly varied in terms of stats and techs or techniques, such as magic spells or special attacks. On the subject of techs, the battles have well-drawn and well-animated tech animations, whether they're party techs or enemy techs. Another thing I love about techs and my favorite part of the gameplay is the combination techs. I will briefly describe how combination techs work. If 2 or 3 characters have the right standard text, they can combine the text into double text in the case of 2 characters or triple text in the case of 3 characters. To use a combination tech in battle, both or all compatible characters must have full action gauges. The combination techs are well animated, look great, and are very effective. My favorite dual techs are Chrono and Frog's X/, where the two slash in intersecting paths forming an X, and Chrono and Ayla's Falcon Hit, where Ayla launches Chrono and Chrono performs a mid-air horizontal slash. My favorite triple tech is Chrono, Robo, and Ayla's Twister. The combination techs are satisfying to use, are practical, and give the combat depth and strategy. The battles are made even better by their excellent music. The standard battle song fits the atmosphere and goes well in all of the time periods in which it plays. The boss battle songs add intensity and excitement to their respective boss battles and go well with the designs and attacks of the bosses. As in most RPGs I have played, my favorite battles are the boss battles. I will now talk about the music. The soundtrack is excellent and consists of songs that are deep, greatly varied, and emotional. The environmental songs go well with the locations and with the time periods in which they are played. The emotional songs add the right emotions to their respective scenes and fit the settings in which they are played. The playable characters also have great theme songs. I especially like Frog and Robo's themes. My other favorite songs include the Middle Ages Map song, the Guardia Castle song, the End of Time song, a song called Corridors of Time, an emotional song called Depths of the Night, Lavos' theme, the Ocean Palace song, and the theme of the party's time machine, the Epoch. The rest of my review gives away several major plot points. The Ocean Palace scenario ends with a hard-hitting and well-written sequence in which Lavos awakens and effortlessly defeats the party, creating an atmosphere of hopelessness. Magus takes off his prophet disguise and tries and fails to kill Lavos, further adding to the hopelessness. The game then takes a much sadder turn when Chrono tries to take on Lavos again, only to get vaporized by Lavos. The Dalton scenario that follows this sequence ends with the party getting their epoch back and with wings, and the game becomes open-ended after the scenario. The open-ended portion of the game is great because of the optional side quests the player can do, which yield useful equipment and can allow Chrono's teammates to become more developed characters. Another thing I love about the open-ended portion is that it is possible to recruit Magus. Magus is one of my favorite characters of the game, both in terms of characterization and usefulness in battle. The side quests which lead to character development conclude the character arcs in satisfying ways. On a related note, the side quest in which Chrono is brought back to the party is my favorite side quest in the open-ended portion, and it ends in a beautiful and satisfying way. My second favorite is the Black Omen, the second version of the Ocean Palace. I would like to add that the Black Omen has an amazing song. I will now talk about the final battle. The final battle against Lavos is easily my favorite battle in the game due to the variety of the different phases, the visuals in the different phases, and the excellent songs in the different phases. Lavos' first phase, which is against the shell, uses Lavos' theme song and uses it well. The song goes well with Lavos' appearance and his destructive power. The design of Lavos' shell is highly detailed and intimidating, and Lavos' attacks in the phase are intimidating and well animated. The second phase has a great setup, a hallway with disturbing sounds and no music. The second phase itself, which is against Lavos' body inside the shell, has a better and more intense song, a more intimidating design of Lavos, and cooler and more intimidating attacks. The song gives the sense that the end is near and creates a sense of danger and a sense of excitement. The third and final phase, which is against Lavos' core and its supporting bits, has an excellent song, more intimidating attacks than in the previous phases, and a background which adds intensity and excitement. The song creates an atmosphere of hopelessness, goes well with a final battle, and goes well with the attacks and the background. I will now talk about the endings. The ending of a standard game depends not only on whether or not Chrono has been brought back, but also on whether or not the epoch is still intact. My favorite ending is the ending with Chrono brought back and the epoch intact. The NPCs from the non-present time periods visiting present-day Guardia is heartwarming, as is the goodbyes by the non-present player characters as they return to their respective times through the Lean Square Gate. Chrono's mother accidentally ending up in the gate is funny, as is King Guardia getting stuck after putting up Nadia's bell. The credit sequence is excellent because of the excellent song and because of Chrono, Luca, and Marl traveling through time with the epoch to look for Chrono's mother. The song creates the sense of a victory celebration, fits the game's atmosphere, and goes well with the time travel depicted. The scenes in the different time periods are heartwarming epilogues of the non-present player characters, and the scenes together make a great retrospective of the journey. The final screen with the golden "The End" words and the view of the planet from space is a great touch. The ending with Chrono brought back and the epoch destroyed starts off pretty much the same. However, after the non-present player characters return to their respective times, Marl puts up Nadia's bell and accidentally gets carried off by balloons. Chrono tries to save Marl, but the two of them end up getting carried away by the balloons as the credits roll. I think this credit sequence is cute, but it's not as satisfying as the previous credit sequence I mentioned. I'm personally not big on the two endings where Chrono is still dead, and I don't find them all that satisfying. However, I do like the credit sequence of the epoch intact ending and the Gasper scene in the epoch destroyed ending. That concludes my discussion on the endings of a standard game. Now I will briefly talk about the New Game Plus endings, but first some context. After the player completes a standard playthrough, the player can choose New Game Plus and select the complete file. This starts a new playthrough, but with the items, equipment, and experience levels carried over from the complete playthrough. This allows the player to see endings not possible in a standard playthrough. I won't go into too much detail on these endings, I'll just say my favorites and summarize my thoughts on the others. My favorite New Game Plus endings are The Dream Project, The Successor of Guardia, and Memory Lane. The other endings are interesting and or cute. In any case, the New Game Plus endings are fun to watch and add to the rewarding aspect of playing New Game Plus. Overall, Chrono Trigger remains a masterpiece among RPGs thanks to its deep combat system, engaging story, likable characters, well-drawn and highly detailed graphics, excellent soundtrack, and great use of time travel. That concludes my review of Chrono Trigger. Take care.